Why China's catastrophic floods will barely dent its economy. The waters of China's mighty Yangtze River have inched upward in recent weeks, cresting banks, flooding adjacent land, and displacing millions of people from their homes. Parts of China's Three Gorges Dam, the world's largest hydroelectric power station built in 2003 to tame the Yangtze, were deformed by the surge. The dam's operator said it was on wartime footing as Three Gorges neared its maximum intake capacity. Highways and riverside pavilions in the city of Wuhan disappeared beneath the surging waters of the river, which divides the city in two. In some rural villages just south of Wuhan, local governments dispatched teams of rescuers on boats to pick up residents from their submerged homes. Fed by torrential rains, the flooding threatened to unleash humanitarian and economic catastrophe on the 480 million residents in sprawling metropolises Shanghai, Wuhan, Chongqing that sit in the Yangtze's 700,000 square mile basin, an area that accounts for 1/3 of China's annual economic output. The flooding, which started to recede in late July, inflicted the worst natural disaster in a decade on a country still recovering from the pandemic. At least 158 people have died or gone missing, and 4 million have evacuated their homes. But so far, it has not dealt a knockout blow to the economy. In fact, Li Yao, a fellow at the East Asia Institute at the National University of Singapore, estimates in preliminary research that the 2020 flood will shave 0.17% from China's 2020 GDP, far less damage than in previous crises. It should not be hard for China to digest the overall economic loss caused by the flood, Li said. The flood's minor dent to China's economy is no accident. In recent years, Beijing has nurtured new wetlands and built new dams to counter such threats. The trajectory of the floodwaters mirrors government priorities, with newly constructed infrastructure protecting cities and industrial centers at the expense of farmland and rural villages. Climate change has upped China's flooding risks in recent years, says Jennifer Turner, director of the Wilson Center's China Environment Forum. She says heavy rains in China have increased by about 4% in each of the past 5 decades amid a changing climate. China's most devastating flood occurred in 1998 when an overflowing Yangtze River killed more than 4,000 people and left 14 million more homeless. In 2016, Yangtze floods killed nearly 700 people and cost the country over $30 billion in damages. The 1998 disaster slashed 1.90% from China's annual economic output, while the 2016 flood saw GDP shrink 0.30%. By comparison, this year's floods are expected to hurt the economy to a far lesser degree, though Li warns it may still be early to estimate its final economic impacts.